Hello, friends. Welcome back to Training. Today is Thursday, January 4th. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to you, Joe.
Happy New Year. Is this a leap year?
It is
366.
66.
So what are you going to do with that extra day?
Not much, but that is my friend Nathan Lynn's birthday.
And he's going to be like,
7 or something. I don't know. Whatever it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Fun little thing. So,
Yes.
well, it's great to be back, and we've got a lot to do today.
Yes.
You and I are chatting that both of us, we will not get done today what we need to get done. Just one of those days.
Yeah.
So I bet we are all in the same boat.
Yeah.
Start of the new year, back to work. It's just crazy.
I'm glad that we are going to kick off this mentoring community stuff.
Yeah.
In the new year here, we'll learn more about it this month in our sermon series. But I'm hoping that there's some gurus out there with this time management thing.
Yeah.
Not only like kind of do it better, but then not have to dunk on yourself. But does well. That's a challenge.
It is a challenge.
To get like super real, super early in the episode.
Yeah. There's a lot to do.
Yeah.
So we'll do our best and try to be okay with ourselves if they don't get it all done.
That's right. I got you.
Okay. Well, today's the first episode of the new year. As always, last things we can talk about.
Yeah.
I tossed you a couple this morning and you wanted to talk about this.
Yeah.
That's a crazy story.
For two reasons.
For two reasons.
We'll get to them.
Okay. So I think it was just last year. I can't remember when this phenomenon started. When all of a sudden it seems like everyone, particularly females, everyone was carrying these Stanley mugs, Stanley cups.
Okay.
They're everywhere.
Agenda number one. We're going to get to it right now.
This is why you wanted to talk about this.
There's only one Stanley Cup, and it's Lord Stanley's Cup, who the victor of the NHL season and their playoffs gets.
Yes.
Everything else is a Stanley mug. You've heard it here first. That's all I got to say.
There you go. And they call them Stanley cups.
Well, they're wrong.
They're wrong. So
I love you, but you're wrong.
The Stanley mugs, Stanley thermoses, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
Became this thing where it seems like they were just the have-to-have item last year.
Yes.
I see them everywhere all the time.
You know what I also see? On Instagram, people are like spoofing these things.
Yeah.
So they're like using like old Culligan water things.
Yes, because
with,
they're
like,
giant.
They are very giant. And then I saw this one Instagram reel of a guy, since you can't see in them, they're not clear.
Yes.
He actually put the straw, like a bowl of hot sauce in his wife's Stanley mug. The straw hit it so that she took a big step. It's like ghost pepper.
Nice.
I'm here for it.
It's become a meme in itself. The Stanley mug.
It is.
Stanley cup.
Stanley mug. Steve, we can change our stars.
Okay. All right. That's this year. I think it was just yesterday or a couple of days ago. There's a new collaboration between Stanley and Starbucks where they have this limited edition winter pink, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
Stanley mug, this pink Stanley mug that was exclusively at Target.
Yes.
And as these things typically go, it was just mayhem.
Yes.
I just read a couple articles this morning that there were people parked sleeping overnight, camping overnight to be there when the store opened at 8 or whatever.
Wow.
To get there, there's a limited edition, limited number of cups, and some people are, of course, fighting a big ring of line. There's some videos of people just going crazy. Police had to be called at several Targets. They're sold out. They're being resold on eBay and stuff for hundreds of dollars.
Right.
Over these cups.
The Beanie Babies.
It is the first Beanie Baby effect of 2024.
Oh, man. Here we are.
Didn't take long. First, it ruined everything. So it's kind of funny. Like this whole Stanley phenomenon is kind of new, but this kind of thing happens. It's kind of cyclical, right? There's something that's hugely popular. There's a limited number. People go crazy over them. We've seen this before, right?
Right.
What does that say to you, Joe, about human nature, consumerism, jealousy, envy? Like what was the first thing that pops into your mind?
So for you in the Trinity audience, this would be a neat little window into how much of a square. Okay. I just can't observe something and move on. Usually, I can't just scroll by. I start to think through things probably way too much. Probably see things that aren't truly there. First thing I thought of, and this is maybe devious, is there's got to be a Venn diagram of people who are like pro Stanley mug, then along they become like anti-Target. Right. There's been a boycott of Target people for their own reasons. That's fine. If you're in that camp, that's fine. If you're not in there, that's fine. Let's move on. But what a dilemma they have now. Like they want this Stanley mug, but they got to go to Target to get it.
Yeah.
So maybe they're paying the higher premium to get on eBay. So the dollars aren't spent at Target.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's number one.
Yes.
But now that that's been dealt with, okay, number two is this, I think, is another example of how conflict works. So as human beings, this is a sociologist, and this is something that Rene Girard, who was a literary critic and became like a theologian late in life. There's like this Girardian theory of conflict. Okay. And he says it's based on human nature of envy and rivalry. Okay. So as human beings, we're intellectually ready to be born, but we're not physically ready to be born, unlike other species that are physically ready to be born. Intellectually, they're not ready to be born. Okay. So how do they fill in that gap? Most species have instincts. They're born with instincts and they just act upon those. Okay. Human beings, we actually have to learn through the mimics, which is we mimic the language that we hear around us. We mimic the movements around us. But we also, and this is like the deeper dive, mimic the desires. So what other people desire, we desire as well. And so what Girard says is there's really no conflict unless you and I desire the same thing. Okay. Yeah. Like, man, you love all the Marvel stuff. I'm kind of like, I can take a leave on Marvel, whereas like you want to watch it in the theaters.
Yes.
That's just on Disney Plus. You want to get some of the background take on it. You want, you really do the deep dives. Like you remember all the dialogue. I do not. I just kind of watch with my kids.
Yeah.
Fun with the kids.
Sure.
But it's like you and I were both trying to carve out like the inside the church market of Marvel. Marvel criticism and commentary. All of a sudden we had beef. We didn't know we had beef and now we do, right?
Really want. Yeah.
But since we don't, it tends to not boil into conflicts in our lives. And so I think for whatever reason, because these are like limited edition Stanley mugs and there's only a short supply, next thing you know, like all these people who desire the same thing, that's where the conflict is. And so I think this is once again an opportunity for us to train ourselves to ask, what is the thing behind the thing? So the thing is a Stanley mug. But is there something behind the thing that needs to be tended to so that something as trivial as a limited edition winter pink Stanley mug doesn't cause us to act full, right, and have conflict? So there's a soccer reference that I could use here.
We're getting hockey, Stanley Cup, and soccer. We're going to mix it all.
And then we're going to come to the book of Ephesians, which native Kansas say Ephesians. All right. Right. There's a soccer image here. So there's two soccer clubs in England, Sunderland, and Newcastle United. Okay. They're from the same area of the world, and they're getting ready to have a FA Cup match between one another in the next 7 days. Okay. And if you tune into it, what you will see is a line of jolly good constables in their bright green, neon green jackets in between the sections of their fan base. Because whenever these two have a derby match between one another, conflict usually breaks out. Yeah. In the stands, outside. And it's because these two teams hate one another. The rivalry is deeper than Michigan, Ohio State. Insert, your rivalry here in the U.S. Like it's way deeper there. And it's way deeper there because they were actually on opposite sides in this war in 1860. So there's conflict in this area of the world. And it boils over whenever they have a soccer match. And so since they haven't settled their differences in the past, they rehearse it, and whatever happens on the pitch kind of helps advance this rivalry. It would be wild if these two teams, instead of perpetuating the rivalry and the hatred and anger,
what if they did something as a show of hospitality towards one another? Like it would cause everybody to have to reframe everything because the standard lines are
we hate each other, we don't affiliate with people from those fan bases, we hate the players on each side, and we just do this every single year in order to perpetuate animosity toward. And so what needs to happen is this new contract between them as communities in order for them to overcome their strife and differences, which brings us to Ephesians 5, chapter 2. Chapter 2. So there is division within the first century world between Jews and non-Jews. In fact, you can see those divisions in Galatians chapter 3, Paul talks about how now in Christ, there's no longer male or female, slave or free, or Jew or Gentile, right? It's all or one Christ. So Christ like cuts across these natural differences, and you would have been given at birth. Like all three of those markers are handed out at birth. Well, Paul's trying to do something unique in the New Testament. He's trying to make one church out of many families. And so he uses this interesting line in Ephesians 2:14. He says, there's a dividing wall of hostility that's being removed in Christ. Okay. So imagine like Jews and non-Jews and a duplex. There was like that dividing wall of hostility. And this one's playing their music too loud. And this one cooks food that is unsavory smelling to the other. And so there's like this conflict between neighbors. Well, in Christ, Paul says that duplex wall is been removed. And he is challenging the church to dwell with one another in a larger household together as equal citizens. And so all that to say is, yes, these things are like winter pink mugs and how the government spends our tax dollars and what political ideology is better and what Bible translation is more faithful and what's your view of the end times versus this person's view of the end times and yada, yada, yada. Like all these things are a conflict. And they're only a conflict because we are desiring the same, whatever that might be. So the thing behind the thing we need to ask ourselves is this thing that's causing our blood to boil for us to like pop our knuckles at conflict? Is it really worth it? And should we ask a better set of questions? Because as Christians, now we have a framework, a theological framework. There's actually more going for us than there is for us to part ways. So can we live with addressing the thing behind the thing in order to have a more peaceful existence?
I think that's great. I love everything that you just said. I guess so. Do you have any, how can we get better at that? Because you and I don't care about Stanley mugs, so it seems so silly to me.
Maybe I should now.
Well,
maybe on new desires.
Maybe so. You're going to run out there right now. I'm milking the rest. No.
You don't have one.
That's right. Yeah. But I guess, I think that's very wise. I love what you said. But if it is something that you really care about, maybe it is a Bible translation or a political party or whatever you really care about, how can all of us get better at having that thing behind the thing, desire? How can we, how can we chip away at getting better at that?
There's a ton of sermons. There's 10 places we can go in the scripture text. But a couple things I've been focusing on at the start of the new year. So want to make better habits and practices in our own life is, Jesus said, the kingdom is already among us, already in our midst. Some translations say the kingdom is. So he's like, don't say the kingdom's coming or it's there, it's not there. So what I've been trying to challenge is say, hey, the kingdom is already trying to arrive every person. So Jesus within me wants to tend to the kingdom that's arriving every person, no matter where they're at. Another one is an odd phrase from a book called Odd Thomas, fiction book that somebody shared with me from our church, and I read it late one year, and plot's strange, but the main character's name is Odd Thomas. And at the end of the book, that's a spoiler, at the end of the book, it's revealed that he's had a really rough relationship with his parents. It's simply because his parents had a character. There's a closing scene at the very end of the book where his mom's giving him a massive field trip, trying to blame all her problems on him, more or less. And he said something that really struck me as I read it. He said basically to his mom, I didn't ask to be born. That's something y'all did.
That was your decision. So don't put that on me.
I wasn't asked to be born, but I am asking
To be loved.
Wow. And I'm actually trying to approach every single person on those terms. This person didn't ask to be born. They didn't ask to be born. And there's, I've been studying some philosophy. Martin Heidegger, very checkered philosopher. Yes, many things negative, but one of the things I think he got right is he called it this strange term,
the thrownness about us. We've been thrown into this world at a certain time, at certain circumstances. And the best that we can do in Heidegger's perspective is to make the most out of the thrownness that's unique to us. Same thing with every person that we have in our midst. And if they're in front of us in the line to get these winter pink cups, maybe we should let them win this one. And maybe in the algebra of human existence, we'll be ahead of them in the next line. And hopefully if we gave them the dignity of being in front of us and winning that chapter, maybe they'll let us win the next one. And maybe at the end, it's all a wash where we were able to lose some and win some. And because that we became better people, just embracing that we're not going to win every single conflict, every single argument that we're in the midst of. We're not going to have the power all the time. Sometimes we're going to have to go without. And I think one of the things about Christianity is it teaches us what enough is so that we don't have to continue to strive for more, but being content with the enough that all of us have access to, because we do follow and worship a very generous God who I think has provided more than enough. We're not going to get all, and we may not get equal, but we certainly can have enough. We can define it, we can live by it, and then be at peace when the ball doesn't bounce in our direction on any given day.
That's good, man. I like that a lot. I've heard you say before, aim for the tie, right?
Yeah.
Like don't try to win.
Yeah.
Don't take too many losses. Don't be a victim. But aim for the tie. I think that's a great.
As an athlete who's played both soccer and hockey, you do get credit for a tie.
Yeah.
It's not a miss. Could you have gotten more? Absolutely, but you still went away from all your effort with something. And I think that that is something in the wisdom of human life, trying to live life more skillfully, that we should seek to live with at some level. Now, there are certain things that we need to like really fight for, certain things that we need to take a stand on, but it's not everything. And I think that unfortunately, what we're seeing in our culture writ large is folks, whatever the anxiety that they're sensing, they're going to battle on every front. And warfare is exhausting, both literally and figuratively. And I think we're sensing a corporate exhaustion. And that turns into, I think, a great nihilism where if I can't get mine today, then I'm going to definitely go without tomorrow. And I think that's why we're seeing conflict over little things.
Over and over and over again. Like Stanley mugs. Stanley mugs, not Stanley cups.
No, there's only one.
Okay. We put a lot of things today, Joe. That's good. You're a great. You threw in soccer clubs, Ephesians 2. You got some philosophy in there. Again, with no work. Your brain continues to me. So, way to go.
I
don't know how you do it.
Well, I won't be able to answer anything else the rest of the day. Like, I pretty much spin it all and trend it.
Way to go. We started this by saying we have a lot to do. If we should go, we should let them go. But thanks for being here. Happy New Year. We're looking forward to doing this again this year. So thanks for watching and listening wherever you are. And what's the takeaway? Aim for a tie today. Be nice to people that are ahead of you.
Yes. The person that you're growing impatient with, they didn't ask to be born, they asked to be loved.
There you go.
Well, maybe ask the question, how do I love this person right now? What does love, as Andy Stanley says, what does love require
in this moment? I think it's more than enough to live on. Right? Yeah.
If someone did get a winter pink mug, I would love this.
Yeah, if you have one, let us know. Bring it sometime.
Yeah. I'm going to try to get my hands on.
I know you are. But now you want one.
I know.
The irony of all ironies. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Have a good day. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.